June 4th is the anniversary of Tiananmen Square Massacre. 33 years later, all voices in China and Hong Kong are muted.
The young students on the Tiananmen Square are now in their 50s. What the world has learned from a 33-year nightmare.
And the feature story is about the two renowned exiles from Hong Kong today. Welcome to Wei and Kathy Show. I'm your host, Wei Fang.
I'm Kathy Zhang.
Today is the 33th anniversary of the Tiananmen Square Massacre. For those of you who know about that, can you believe it? It's already so far ago, right? Mm-hmm. And the reason why we want to bring you this story as American, why do we care about that? Why do we care so much about that? Because that's what a communism would unfold, and we want to avoid our future like that. And the way is to understand what is going on now.
Yeah, and actually our feature story, which are about the two renowned exiles from Hong Kong who resides in Taiwan now, they will tell us why indeed it is so important for not only Hong Kongers, Chinese people, Taiwanese, but the whole world to commemorate this anniversary and what's the significance to everybody.
Yep. So back in 33 years ago, and both Kathy and I, we were college student in Shanghai. I was in my junior. I think Kathy is in your sophomore, right? Mm-hmm. So that's where the student movement happened. Okay, and just before the June 4th Tiananmen massacre, there's a lot of students in Beijing who just bike. They just bike to the Tiananmen Square. That's the most convenient way to travel. And there's this one particular student who just have this red ribbon tied up around his forehead, his head, and then riding a bike pretty happily, on his way to the Tiananmen Square. There's this BBC reporter, cameraman, sort of riding along with him and asked him, so why are you going to go there? So he answered that, I think it's my duty. I think it's my duty. So that particular footage become now well known all across China. Okay, many people see this guy is saying that. I think it's my duty, and so it's my duty. This sentence become a common way of express oneself to commemorate the Tiananmen Square massacre now. Mm-hmm. So last night, at the midnight, there's so many web users in China. We call that web surfers. Okay, they were just typing up there, so this is my duty, it's my duty. And some people, they just concatenate so many, just bike meme, right? Mm-hmm. Bike meme, just hundreds of bikes just posted there as their way to commemorate this massacre. Because in China, you cannot mention a word about June 4th.
Yeah, even June 4th, this word is censored. Yeah. So people have to think of other ways to express June 4th.
To go around it. It's not like you mentioned that they're going to break the door and arrest you. Whatever you mention cannot even show that there. Doesn't show at all because all this algorithm was to filter them out. So last night, a lot of people start to type, it's my duty, or post a bike there, and the censoring machine just fully spinning there and just delete them. So one web user was rating there, you delete it, I'll post it again. It's because it's my duty. Okay, Another user said, it's my duty. You delete one, I have another one for you. But however, in front of the machine, right, the machine eventually deleted them all in 10 short minutes. So before the 1 o'clock in the morning of the June 4th in Beijing, all those words disappeared from China's Weibo. Weibo is just like their version of Twitter. All right, so that's what happened in China, in Beijing. Okay, in Hong Kong, starting the year, on that very year, 1989, on this Victoria Park, there's a big, football, there's a big lawn, and there's tens of thousands of people, sometimes as many as like 300,000 people gather there every year at this time, and just lit there, a little candle. Or later on with their phone and they turn on the flashlight, they're just waving there. It's like a sea of lights. So that has been the classic commemoration, the largest scale about the June 4th student, the massacre of the student in the world. So Hong Kong remembers Beijing. That's pretty much the situation there.
Yeah, you see on the screen right now, you see that's all the years of the candle vigil light in Victoria Park.
Yeah.
And you can see the last one at the right corner, that has the less people there. Okay, so that's last, 2021.
Yeah.
The year before 2020, much fewer people there. And this year it should be the same as last year because
so
they are not allowed.
This is what we see. What is absurd is this, okay? The police closed down the entire Victoria Park and the main area, okay? The football, the basketball, court, and also the central lawn. And then they will close it for more than like 24 hours. They won't open until June 5th on Sunday in the early morning. And then police said, if you do not have a permit, you cannot assemble. So this reporter was asking the police, so how about I just go there by myself? Okay, I just hold a candle by myself. Is that illegal? The police said this. If you do that way and some other people were doing the same thing, then you are illegal. Can you understand that? I was doing that by myself. And that person happened to do the same thing. That become an illegal assembly. Okay, even the police said, even a person just go there to himself and then just have a live broadcasting out there, that's the same as illegal assembly. So this is what Hong Kong has become. So they just completely mute all the voice and wipe clean the Victoria Park and a 33-year tradition break now. And and on social media, people are saying that the candlelight is out at the Victoria Park. So there's a few people, okay, renowned, dissident, okay, and virtually all of them that Kathy and I know them well. One person is Fang Zheng, right? Fang Zheng is the young student who was in his senior, and he's an athlete. His major is sports. He lost both of his legs because the tank rolled by him, and then this is what he said. So yeah, this is you cannot see his leg, right? Because it's gone. On the left is his wife, and he said Hong Kong is where we think the hope is. Now the candlelight in the Victoria Park is out, and then even the June 4th Memorial Museum cannot exist in Hong Kong. We got to take it over. We got to extend the memory of the June 4th. We got to find a new place to extend its life. He said if we choose silence, if we don't speak, then the right of speaking will be owned by the Chinese Communist Party, and this is what they wish for. Another student leader back then is Wang Den, okay, and he's from Beijing University. He said that this is 33 years long, okay, but for a country with 1.4 billion people, if there's no people who is willing to hold on for 30 or 50 years, hold on to his position, then what kind of country is this? Someone has to hold on to the ideals. Then what particularly touched me is this story of this student. His name is called Tang Kai. Okay, Tang Kai was from university in the Shenzhen University, and he told his story to Voice of America about when how he have to flee Beijing and got arrested in Shenzhen University, got sent to the highest guarded jail in China, and after his release, he's harassed by police for 30 years until 3 years ago. He and his family was able to flee China and come to the U.S. So he applied for political asylum. He found a job to driving, deliver goods for Amazon. All right, every day is a lot of work. Okay, a lot of work, but he feels so happy. This is the original word. I want to read it to you. After I came to the U.S., I realized how pleasant it is without the police harassing me every day. I never thought I would be this happy after leaving China. If I were to know this, I would have left China way earlier. So, how you feel about this, right? The freedom to us is just like, the air.
Like air, yeah.
We don't feel it, freedom, really, right? So this is the people, this is Tang Kai, the gentleman Tang Kai. He's, he's the voice from his heart. And So now I still want to remind you, after June 4th, the West have a censorship of the CCP, but soon after, the George W. Bush, right? George W. Bush sent people to the old Bush, sent someone to China and to see Deng Xiaoping and said, we do not interfere with your internal affairs. What does that mean? It means that you kill your people, nothing to do with us. Okay? So after that, all the other countries follow suit. They went back to China and they do business. 12 years later, they send CCP, send China into WTO, and the CCP started its ascension since then and until today. Now China is being able to, they show their power in South China Sea. They show their power in the southern Pacific Ocean, right? And China is waging the global, I won't say campaign. It's just going against the U.S. globally. It's a threaten the very, the world order that the U.S. established, and even, threaten the way of life in this country. And fortunately now, the U.S. has awakened. Finally, the United States realized that, the true nature of the CCP, they never changed. They want to take over the world. No matter how obedient they were, the only reason is to conceive the deceive the opponent and grab all the technology and the know-how until they become strong. And when they are strong, they'll show their true face. So this is basically the situation is after 33 years. Mm-hmm. What I want to share with you is 33 years is not a short time, right? World War II is only 5 years, right? World War I, to everybody, the U.S. is only 2 years. This is 33 years. It's a very, very long time. And the people persist through. It's like 12,045 days. So today we want to remind you about how people feel about that. By all means, we want to avoid that kind of future for the United States of America. All right, so let's come to the feature story.
Yeah, so as we see, in China, in Hong Kong, the voices to commemorate the anniversary of June 4th are all muted. Then the voices actually came out louder from Taiwan, from other parts of the world. So that's what we, people exiled from Hong Kong, how they feel. So that here's the story I wanted to bring to you, and also especially how they think why not only Asian, Chinese people, Hong Kongers, Taiwanese people should commemorate this anniversary, but they feel it's so much important for Americans, for the rest of the world to commemorate this, and here's why. So first, let's show you. You can see this red giant. Okay, so this is a 3-meter tall red giant, which was part of the July 1st, 2013 protest in Hong Kong. And today, this red giant is in the Chiang Kai-shek Memorial Hall in Taipei, Taiwan, as part of an exhibition to commemorate the 33rd anniversary of the June 4th Tiananmen Massacre. Who is the author? The author is called Casey Wong. He's the
creator.
Yeah, creator, yes. The creator, who is a former assistant professor at the Hong Kong Polytech and Polytech University, and he's a visual artist. So he brought this piece of artwork with him when he moved to Taiwan last year. Okay, and
so literally that move is a flee, right?
Well, he fled, but he said he left Hong Kong. He was not, he envisioned how he could be persecuted by the authority. Mm-hmm. So, and Casey Wang used to be a professional architect. And in the past 10 years, he created lots of visual and performance art satirizing the Chinese Communist government's oppression of Hong Kong and participated in the June 4th anniversaries, July 1st protests march, and the anti-extradition movement in Hong Kong for many times. Casey Wang was invited to a TED Talk in Vietnam in 2019, where he talked about the anti-extradition movement in Hong Kong at that time, which is a very hot topic. So Casey Wang told me the creative idea of this red giant was originated from the Japanese comic Attack of Titan. So why he picked up this idea for protesting the Chinese Communist government's oppression back in Hong Kong, and why and what the message he wishes to express through this piece of artwork in commemorating the June 4th anniversary today.
It is a warning in the story of the Attack of Titan, the Japanese manga, that this giant, nobody believes that's giant, but after 100 years, it starts showing up, knock down the city wall and start eating up people. So I think if we look at the history of how the West relationship with communist China in the past 20 years, at first they are like fairly friendly, trying to use up their cheap labor. And then in the past 10 years, then they start to realize, wait a minute, they're stealing our technologies, they're infiltrating our society, and eventually influencing our politics and our system, taking away our freedom and democracy. So I think in a way it's kind of similar to that story, and it's easily understood. And that's why I've chosen the Red Giants. And I think to put it in, to ship it from Hong Kong and to exhibit it in Taiwan by me, have another narrative, because it represents like the fall of Hong Kong, right? When we look at what happened during 2014 movement and also 2019 movement and the passing of the national security law in Hong Kong, the freedom and the limited democracy of Hong Kong got totally wiped out by this red giant. And this red giant is definitely coming to Taiwan. I mean, a few days ago, there's like 30 communist planes flew into the airspace of Taiwan, and Taiwan is constantly under this military threat. So I think the artwork plays a role in a way to serve as a warning, and also it's kind of like a message to warn the people of Taiwan. And the reason why the world should be continue watching Hong Kong is Hong Kong kind of represent a Western city in the Eastern continent. And to watch it fall rapidly within few years is definitely a warning to the rest of the world. So we must be prepared.
So Hong Kong had been holding the candlelight vigil to commemorate the anniversary of June 4th at the Victoria Park for over 30 years, with hundreds of thousands of people attending. But this year is the second year that the event is just totally banned by the authority. To Casey Wang, how does he think of the significance of still commemorating this anniversary today?
I think this year is specifically important. This year is the June 4th commemoration 33rd anniversary. And as you said, it's totally impossible to commemorate in Hong Kong. I remember back in 2021, when I was still in Hong Kong, I tried to check out the area around Victoria Park during the daytime. On June 3rd, they already have like a lot of police all in anti-riot uniform hiding around Victoria Park. And if they see anybody looking suspicious, like me, like wearing a black t-shirt, like today I'm wearing the June 4th t-shirt, right? And then they will storm out and stop you and harass you and copy your Hong Kong identity card number. So this year, the police of Hong Kong already sent out a public warning anybody that even if you are alone by yourself, and if you are kind of caught near the proximity of Victoria Park, then they can arrest you based on that you are being influenced by maybe the internet, influenced by somebody. So the kind of national security law right now in Hong Kong is an ever expanding law. It becomes almost like a weapon to punish the freedom of Hong Kong people. So for me, this year is very important because I can not only publicly participate in the commemoration rally on the night of June 4th in Taipei, in the Chiang Kai-shek Memorial Hall, but also I can participate in an art exhibition that talks about the spirit of resistance without any hindrance or threat or worrying that police will bust into my home 5 a.m. in the morning. So I think this is a total blessing by coming to Taiwan.
So to Casey Wang, what does that mean to participate this exhibition? Because this exhibition, the title, the theme is the transformation of resistance.
The transformation of resistance, in a way, talks about being suppressed. And I think in many ways that Hong Konger, of course, is one of those who are being suppressed now. But we, as Hong Konger, also gave great concerns to the people of China when they were being suppressed back in 1989 during the Tiananmen Square. And we continuously commemorate this event for more than 30 years. This year is the 33rd. What's that mean? We share the same destiny. We're the entity of the same destiny. That is to say, Hong Konger, people of Xinjiang, brothers and sisters of Xizang, we are together in spirit, fighting against authoritarian government, fighting against this ever-expanding power called Chinese Communist Party. So I think that is a big difference comparing to, let's say, 10 years ago, right? When you have this commemoration kind of only happening in the Victoria Park in Hong Kong. And then, of course, you have small pockets of gathering abroad. But I think this year, since Hong Kong no longer commemorate officially, then it becomes like a blooming of the wildflower, but globally. I heard that there is more than 20 somewhat cities around the world right now this year commemorating the June 4th massacre. And of course, with thousands and thousands of Hong Kongers leaving Hong Kong due to political reasons. Many of them are leaving for UK in second tier, third tier cities. So there's a lot of communities are being set up right now in abroad. So of course they're going to bring their values and their culture with them, and one of that is to commemorate June 4th. So I think this year is kind of a keystone year, marking the transition of a local event into a global event.
So a lot of the Hong Kongers did fly to other countries. So one of them, Mr. Sampu, who is a former political commentator and a columnist in Hong Kong. He was a lawyer by training. He also immigrated to Taiwan last year after the passage of the Hong Kong National Security Law. He is currently the chairman of the Taiwan-Hong Kong Association. He said a lot of his friends who are part of the organizer of the candlelight vigil in Victoria Park are still in jail. So what is Mr. Sampu's thought at this 33rd anniversary?
33 years away from the 1989 June 4th massacre incident. However, our hearts are the same. We face the same threat, okay, because CCP has not changed. What has been changed is some of the perceptions towards CCP, okay? Some people outside CCP may have different perceptions towards CCP, but I think the core of the CCP has not changed at all, okay? So when you look back on the CCP 1989 June 4th massacre, you will know that whenever there are protests or whenever there will be some confrontation with to challenge the power and the status of CCP regime, CCP will use every means to crush them. Okay, so we need to stand firm on our values, and we need to and we also need to be very courageous in some moments, like what you see in 2019, when there are so many Hong Kongers fighting for their freedom and fighting for their autonomy. You will see that that has been a sea change of the whole mentality of Hong Kong people. Although today many Hong Kong people, many Hong Kongers and many Taiwanese do not regard themselves as Chinese nationals, frankly speaking, no. But the key is, although we have different identity recognition, we still see CCP as the same threat and their more serious challenge to the international order, as Blinken said. So it's the most serious long-term challenge to the international order and to the whole mankind. And what we say, like what Mike Pompeo has said, CCP is evil. So we need to stand firm on this statement and to make sure that, okay, we use effective tactics to counteract against CCP's infiltration and their warfare against the whole world.
So from Sampu's point of view, why correctly view June 4th, this massacre, is important for Americans and for the rest of the world?
The June 4th massacre is only one incident that CCP shows its real self. When you look back in the history of CCP, there are so many things that we need to know and also we need to grasp. And this is only one incident to make sure that we are not only memorizing the lost lives in CCP in the June 4th massacre, but also anti-totalitarianism, anti-autocracy, anti-authoritarianism, and anti this kind of hegemony of CCP against the whole world. And that is the key message that we need to let everyone know. Okay, regardless of the left-right controversies in America, I think what we need to focus is anti-CCP proposition. If this proposition can work well, I think, and also we need to put this into our life and to make sure that we will need to do every means, even small bits, to do the right thing. Okay, so I encourage everyone in every country, like in Taiwan, in Hong Kong, in America, in Canada, in Australia, in the UK, to use your own ways to commemorate and also to commemorate this incident and to launch different activities.
So what to commemorate at this anniversary? And how does this relate to the United States and the rest of the world?
When we commemorate the June 4th massacre, we must not only focus on the sadness and the sorrow of the dead, but we have to focus on the will of the dead and to lift out that will ourselves. Now, this way, we are not disrespecting the dead. We are continuing the unfinished business of the dead, of the heroic dead, because it is only when we live out that will, then their spirit will be with us, and then that will give us more chance for having freedom and democracy ourselves while we're still living.
So how do you think this type of lifted spirit can relate to some of our audience, mostly in United States?
I think freedom is kind of like air, like nice pure oxygen. You don't realize that their existence unless they start to disappear, like some foul smell coming in. Say, what's that? No, I can't breathe properly. Yeah, that's when you realize. And United States, of course, one of the freest country in the world, but we must prepare. We must be prepared to that this kind of freedom will not last forever, because the opposition is an ever expanding power. Look at what happened to Ukraine, right? The Russians, it's like the mainland Chinese Communist Party is an ever expanding system that said that it will come to your doorstep if you are lazy, if you're not watchful of your own government, if you choose to not defend, right, and it will infiltrate your system. So I think yes, being an American, I'm not from Xinjiang, I'm not from Tibet, I'm not even from Hong Kong. Why should I care? I think it's important to care because we are in this together, fighting this ever-expanding system that will eventually collapse our system. So please care. Please join the fight for freedom and democracy when you still can.
And how does Sampu think of this?
CCP is the same ever since its birth. Okay. What has been different is the perceptions towards CCP, as I said. So we need to be making sure that it is not just the massacre that we need to commemorate. It is the reality of the CCP we need to face. Don't think that CCP is a normal country, same as the other countries in the whole world. It is created with the objective to be an emperor, okay, the king of the whole world. Okay, they want to rule the whole world and to make sure that the whole world follow the CCP order. It is not a good player of the international society. And whatever you pray for it, whatever you want to change it, you want to engage with CCP and make sure that, okay, through the cooperation, alignment, and also all these kind of things, it will not be changing anything. When the American society, like the Secretary of the State, Anthony Blinken, has said that we need to have 3 pillars. We have invest in America and also align and also compete. I agree that we need to buy time to decouple from the CCP, decouple from China. I think we need to buy time. That's correct, because the whole world, like the Wall Street gang and also the whole world, has been in the CCP supply chain for a long time. But the point is, it's not just compete. We need to see CCP as an evil regime. Okay, when we see it clear, we need to have clear-cut strategy and step by step to decouple the free world from the CCP regime from China, and to make sure that the China will be weakening and also have a downfall by itself.
Sampo also reminded the United States and the Western world about the danger of CCP's infiltration.
We also need to be aware of the continuous infiltration and warfare, okay, through different means, economic, okay, humanitarian, and even cultural, against different countries, like in Canada, like in America, like in Australia, like in the UK. They have played a very hard ball game on all these things. We do not regard this as soft power. These are sharp power against these countries. We need to be alert. The price of freedom is being alertive to threats from the totalitarian regime. And the secret of freedom is courage. So we need to play smart and also live a life that is always having this self-alarm system on to make sure that this will not be damaging our life. Of course, we will keep our lifestyle as happy as we can, but we also need to be protective against these infiltration. We need to know it, okay, that CCP will play all the tricks and games in different countries because it's a total war against the whole world, making sure that everyone will be the slaves of this regime, okay? And you think that I'm sounding too high, they are not so evil. Then when you look back in the history of CCP, that is, massacre is only one of the signs that CCP shows its evilness. There are so many, okay? So Hong Kongers, we need to fight for free Hong Kong, and Taiwanese, of course, has a free and also independent Taiwan. But the point is, we need to stand firm against the military and also total warfare threats against Taiwan from CCP. So let's help ourselves together. We need to align not with CCP, but align with the free world. Okay, align with the free world to make sure that we have a united front and united bloc and united force against the CCP regime, and make sure that this CCP regime will go to demise. Okay, this is the thing that I want to say, and wish everyone the best, and also to commemorate this June 4th massacre event on June 4th, and use your own way to send your wishes and prayers to those who are in heaven, and for those who are still the mothers of those who are still in heaven, and wish them all good luck and best wishes.
Wow.
Right.
So, yeah, what do you think? Let's go over some comments. I see a lot of comments from you guys. And Louis, you wrote that what the Chinese don't understand is CCP is the minority. Just like the liberal and the deep state and the corrupt elites that run our nation, our country. Hopefully this November, America will be a shining example of freedom. Okay, yeah, well said. And so Patrick, you asked that, so are Chinese American commemorating June 4th in any significant way here, Kathy?
Yeah, so there are actually around the world, actually estimated about 27 cities are holding the commemorating events. So including in San Francisco here, where we live here, and right now, I think at this moment they are holding this candlelight vigil, which the local Chinese Americans, including some of them were the students on Tiananmen Square. Okay, they exiled to here, and they are in different professions in the Bay Area right now, but every year they will come to San Francisco, Chinatown. There's a park called the Portsmouth Square. In this park, there is a Liberty, Statue of Liberty, which was
A mini version
of the Liberty on the Tiananmen Square. So this Monday, they did clean of this statue. That's what they always do annually. And then tonight, they are holding the candlelight vigil. And also tomorrow in Southern California, there is a Liberty Park. I reported on that before, if you remember. This park was created by Chinese Americans, trying to remind. They put up a lot of the statues, mostly are related to June 4th massacre, and they commemorate. They're trying to remind people using the artwork. So tomorrow they gonna, they put up a new memorial, like they put on the victims of the massacre. Right now they have 203 names of the students who lost their life during the massacre. So they already put their names on this memorial, and they will read out their names and introduce one by one of these fallen heroes. And in the meanwhile, they will also it's also a celebration of installing CCP virus statute. Remember, a few months ago, the FBI
Yeah.
actually caught some CCP spies
Yeah, who
who
sabotaged.
sabotaged the CCP virus in the Liberty Park. So they did it, the artists did it again. They will have a celebration event tomorrow. You know, also then in New York, as I know, New York Chinese Americans, they are holding various events to commemorating this 33rd anniversary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Kitty Hawk, Kitty, are you from Hong Kong? I think I somehow got this idea, okay, or impression that it came from Hong
No.
Kong. And anyway, you wrote that they were so beautiful, peaceful, loving, kind, and we must remember, right? Just and the guest's voice are so calm, right, and so peaceful, so rational, and really just move our heart, and.
And I think for Hong Kong people, what they came from a long way, right? Initially, they helped to rescue some of the student leaders on the Tiananmen Square, help them to escape the Chinese Communist Party's persecution, help them to get to Hong Kong and get to United States or other countries. And then they've been holding this candlelight vigil year after year. But since especially 2013, then 2019, they really feel how this type of massacre actually came to Hong Kong. And this year, like you have heard, they said, this type of massacre is just only one incident to show the true color of the CCP, and that they wanted to they wanted to remind Americans and other people around the world what the true nature of CCP, and truly be alert. We could lose the freedom to the Chinese Communist Party. Yeah, so they really come for a long way, and they using their own experience, and the lessons to give us the alarm.
Yeah, and and also here, not for Hong Kong. Yeah, sure. Yeah, sorry for remember it wrong. And out on the limb, you wrote that all governors a few years back were warned that they were possibly being compromised by doing this shady business with the CCP. Yes.
Yeah, the Chinese Communist Party, I think mostly through the consulate, they compiled a list of the 50 governors in the United States, and each of them assigned to a category. In the category pro-China, maybe kind of centrist in regards to China, and anti-CCP. And they did an analysis to assign those assign them to each categories, and then to just to infiltrate them or work with them, in different ways according to their status. So you are, out on the limb. You are right, and so the infiltration is probably more severe than you would imagine. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think at the end of this, what I want to share with you is that, like, to many people in China, especially those people in Shanghai, okay, during the June 4th movement, you have to go to the street, you have to go to the Tiananmen Square to get shot at, to get killed. But in Shanghai, in the last 3 months, you stay home, and then they broke into your home, at midnight, and they take you out for this quarantine. And they can do anything to you. Now people realize, while CCP is there, it can come to your door, even you do not do anything about it. So this is the same thing that we face here, okay? If we don't curb them, if we don't resist, as a matter of fact, if we don't do away with them, they will come to our door. That's one thing. The second thing is that there's another version of communism in this country, okay? Another version, same gene, same root, and they are at work too. So good people needs to stand up, stand firm, and be vocal and be strong. So I think that's really why we want to bring you spend one whole hour to bring you this story from 10,000 miles away. and appreciate you being here, spending all this time with us. So remember the past will prevent, bad things happen in the future. So,
right. Oh, I just saw Hollis said I linked someone up with the Sound of Hope at a Walmart in Texas a while back. It's an Asian woman. Wow, small world. That's great.
okay, yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. You link someone with the, okay, thank you, yeah.
Patrick said your guest is so correct. We must be forever alert, forever vigilant, lest we lost it all, which honestly seem to be occurring now. Yeah, indeed.
Yeah. All right, thank you everyone for being with us to commemorate actually this, a massacre where probably thousands of people died, young students in their 20s, in their even teens, 19-year-old. But the world is not forgetting. We'll remember them.
Yeah,
And,
for us, June 4th, for myself, June 4th, later on, I just realized it planted the seed for me, later on, I became a journalist.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just, I think everything happened for a reason. So, yeah, it probably will, for every one of you, it happens for a reason.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, thank you. Have a great rest of the night and have a great weekend.
Take care.
Take care.
Be safe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll see you again.
See you again on Monday.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Good night.
Good night.
Is a ballot cast in an envelope better than cast in person? What happens once a ballot is mailed back or dropped in the drop box? The core of our election system is to have ballots correctly reflect the wishes of the voter. Only then can we ensure consent of the governed. Learn how ballots are counted and why it is critically important to cast your ballot in person at a vote center. Search Happy Goose on Rumble and watch illustrated videos. Your vote is important. Make sure it counts.